Welcome to Evolving on Purpose with Matt Swartz. This podcast is where real leaders share the inner work behind their breakthroughs and where you'll find the tools and stories to work through whatever is holding you back from who you're meant to be so you can make the impact you're here to make and help change the world.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode 7 of the Evolving on Purpose podcast. I'm Matt Swartz, and I'm here today to tell you about Alive. It's my framework for healing, primarily anxiety, but is applicable across many different dimensions. It's the culmination of my work for the last 15 years as a leadership coach, therapist, speaker. I take all of my work, I put it in this framework. This is actually one of 2 frameworks that I use, but this is the framework on the healing side. So this is all of the work I did to help people heal anxiety. This is what we came up with. And the goal is to help take something that took me, 20 whatever years and condense it so that it takes you far less. If you can do it in a third of the time or a fourth of the time or the fifth of the time that I did, then I will feel incredibly successful in helping you on your journey. The long and short of it is, most of you know that I dealt with anxiety and panic attacks throughout my life. The worst being in my early 20s was the real epicenter. And so I began this journey to figure out, what is anxiety? How does it work? And how do I heal? And then I was able to bring that to my clients. And I had at one point a thriving, basically just anxiety-based practice where I was doing 8-week workshops and 2 reoccurring weekly groups and a bunch of individual services before I began, my third stage of my healing and expanding more into the trauma work and the leadership development work. But this anxiety work was a big core of my life. So there's a lot of meat here, but I hope it's going to be really helpful to you. And I'm just going to break it down one at a time, right? So here's the deal, right? You've done the work. You know you're anxious. That's not new. And maybe if you don't, this can be helpful, but majority I'm talking to the people who are aware, yes, I have anxiety, right? You've Googled it, you've journaled it, you've probably been to therapy for it, maybe some coaching. You understand it, but it's still running you, okay? So the problem isn't just awareness. It's that nobody gave you a map for what to do to heal it, right? And that's what today is. Today is the map. It's the Alive framework. It's built from 30,000 plus clinical hours over 15 years, 6 years of EMDR, my own personal growth work, and working through my own patterns, right? As well as helping my clients to work through all of theirs. This is the thing that I teach clients in the initial stages of working together. So I want to be clear. Right now, I am on a podcast. I am not here to diagnose or treat any mental health condition. I'm here to educate you and provide you information. Please seek advice and support from a doctor, from a mental health professional, one-on-one for any of these things. I'm giving you information. I cannot possibly heal or treat you through a podcast. So off to the start, right? So first, let's reframe anxiety, okay? So what is anxiety? Anxiety isn't weakness. It's not a disorder. At its root, it's a signal. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem is that you think the anxiety is pointing to something visible outside yourself that you need to change, okay? But it's not. It's pointing you to something invisible inside yourself that needs to be addressed inside. Okay, so I walk people through something called the nervous system scale, and I'll do a whole podcast episode on that. But basically what it does is it takes us from a low level of stress to a higher level of stress into pain, and then fear, and then anxiety, and then that builds to trauma, right? The idea is that emotional pain is a spectrum. It's not a switch. It's not off or on. It's how much emotional pain am I in, right? What matters here is how that pain builds up over time, and then the emotional wound that occurs in the middle of that spectrum that then moves us from stress or pain into anxiety. Ideally, we catch it before it gets there, but most of the people that I work with, it's already past that point. They're having panic attacks, they're having anxiety attacks, they can't cope, their body's freaking out on them every day, right? And these are leaders, these are high performers, these are incredible people that are doing incredible work, that have wonderful families or businesses or any of that, but anxiety is plaguing them, right? One of the reasons I'm having this conversation is this comes right after the conversations I've been having with Ryan around his anxiety, and I think Ryan is just such a good avatar for the normal, high-functioning person dealing with anxiety and how it can become this trap, right? So here's why this matters for leaders specifically. You've been rewarded for managing your anxiety, not moving through it and healing. So the whole skill set that's made you successful is also keeping you stuck inside your anxiety. Okay. So what is that? Those are, I call them survival patterns or invisible patterns, right? When the nervous system can't find its way to regulate back into something that we call the window of tolerance, which again, I can do a whole segment on, we default into one of, I say 6, there's really 7, but the 7th is passing out. So I don't tend to focus on that. But 6 core patterns, okay? These aren't personality types. They're protective strategies. We all have some of them, but most of us have one or more to a higher degree, okay? So I'm going to walk through them quickly, but I will do a future episode on each of these patterns, okay? The first one is avoidant. We call that the flight pattern, right? We're going to distract ourselves. We're going to procrastinate. We're going to get busy. We're going to go down rabbit holes anywhere we have to go to get rid of this pain right here. Okay. Then there's the freeze pattern, the shutdown pattern, right? I feel overwhelmed. I start burning out. I'm going numb. I'm dissociating. Then there's the pleasing pattern. We call that the fawn response. I'm over functioning. I'm people pleasing everybody. I'm invisibly complying. I'm always doing what everybody wants me to do to make them happy, right? There's the fourth aggressive pattern, the fight pattern. You're going to see this represented with perfectionism and control and forcing others and projecting our anger, more so if we're little kids, right? We're also going to see the confused pattern that we call flex. This is imposter syndrome. This is identity drift, not knowing who I am, trying to be whatever I need to be in order to make people happy and not knowing what I should be doing. And then finally, there's the solving pattern, the fix pattern. I find this one to be the most common for leaders and high performers. So I'm in machine mode. I'm forcing. I'm trying to turn everything into a problem to be optimized. Push forward, fix. This is the classic, my wife tells me something that's wrong and I go, well, you should fix X. And they go, I don't want you to fix me. I just want you to listen, right? So each of these 6 patterns probably got you success. They probably got you where you are, right? But they're also the same thing holding you back right now, right? I want you to think and just ask yourself, which run has run my life the most and what has it cost you? So for me, the 2 biggest ones are the pleasing pattern and the solving pattern, right? And the pleasing pattern was I'm going to figure out what everybody wants in order for me to make them happy, and that will make me feel successful, and that will make me feel like enough. And the problem pattern was I got so good identifying and solving problems for people, parents, whatever, right? That then I got really good at it and I kept fixing and solving and fixing and solving. And then those began to run my life, right? So we want to learn how to identify these patterns and shift these patterns over time so that we can move to the next level and get unstuck from where we are at. So I'm going to walk you through the framework, the 5 steps of the ALIVE framework, ALIVE, and we're going to go. So let's start with number 1. Let's start with Awaken. Okay. Awaken. We're trying to wake up, we're trying to see, and we're trying to own. Okay. You can't heal what you can't see or won't name. So this is where the pattern, we want to figure out the pattern. It's not just I'm anxious, but what version of anxious are you, right? And where did it come from? So there's really 3 steps. I want to wake up to the fact that something is running me. I want to learn to see it, not just in retrospect, but in real time. Right now, I see it, I'm doing it, and then I want to own it without shame. And the last step is the one where people get really stuck. I can give you an example. I had this pattern of getting in a fight with my wife and then running upstairs into the bedroom and crying and hoping that she would chase after me. I know I sound really tough and masculine. I get that. This was a pattern from childhood. This is what I did. I would, get in a fight with my mom. I'd run upstairs and cry. She'd come upstairs. She'd comfort me, right? It worked really well as a kid, but it doesn't work really well if you're trying to impress your wife with your deep masculinity, right? So I had to wake up to this pattern, right? I'd acknowledge it was running me, but then I had to learn to see it when it was happening. I'm in this fight. I'm about to run upstairs. Wait, stop. I'm not going to do this, right? Okay, I'm going to go upstairs, but I'm not going to look for her to chase me. Okay, I don't have to go upstairs at all. I can just separate myself, right? Interrupt the pattern and do that without shame. I'm not bad or wrong because I have this pattern. I am a human. I have patterns, right? The basics that we start out with, if you come in the room with me for the very first time, right, and you say something's wrong, I'm going to start by assessing symptoms. I put anxiety into 4 different categories. This is a common system. There's physical, emotional, cognitive, and behavioral, right? Things that my body is experiencing, physical, things I feel, emotions, right? Anger, sadness, guilt, things I'm thinking, cognitive, I shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done this shouldn't happen, what if this bad thing happens, what if this, what if that, right? Behavioral things I do. And those things really fall, you could say they fall into the 6 categories, but I try to make it even more simple and say it's either avoidance, people pleasing, or control, or some combination of those 3, right? Your anxiety is going to show up in all 4 of these categories, right? Most people are maybe tracking 1 or 2. So that's the first stage of awareness, is what are your symptoms, right? I run people through learning mindfulness. Okay. And when you think mindfulness, you probably think yoga, meditation, all of that. Yes, those are mindfulness skills. But mindfulness is a framework that says we have 3 phases to our experience of the world. There's perception, taking in information from the outside world. There's interpretation, filtering or qualifying that information based on past experience. And there's response. How do we respond to that? So I'm walking down the street, I see a dog, perception. Interpretation could be, oh, I love dogs because I had dogs growing up and I love that. Or interpretation could be, I hate dogs, a dog bit me when I was a kid. And then my response is going to be different. I'm either going to approach that dog and try to pet it or go to the other side of the road and hide, right? This is how we experience the world. The event, the dog isn't the problem, the interpretation is. And the interpretation is running that survival pattern, right? Look, I thought I was the most aware person in the world. If you asked me like 26, 27, when I was like getting started in my practice, right? It took a breakdown in my life, which occurred, most of you know, when I had my first kid, to actually see what was going on, because I was subconsciously blocking out from seeing these patterns. We think the interpretation is real and true instead of just an interpretation, right? But we're all doing this. So it's humbling to realize, but you can work your way through it. So that's stage 1, is awareness, right? What are the patterns that I'm responding to the world with? Okay. Once I become aware, then we can move into stage 2, which is L, lighten. I want to reduce, I want to regulate, and I want to stabilize. Okay. This is a necessary step, but it's one that tons of people skipped. Okay, you can't heal and process when you haven't first stabilized. So my clients come in, let's do some EMDR. We can't just run at the wall. We have to, hold on, how stable are we, right? If your nervous system is flooded, insight will bounce off. If your body isn't ready, your mind can't come along for the ride, right? So what do? This is practical. We want to reduce the incoming stress. We want to develop regulation tools. We want to create enough stability in our life that we can actually do the deeper work. This is where that window of tolerance comes in. Am I overstimulated, understimulated, or just right? And if I'm just right, then I can learn, right? But if I'm outside of it, I'm just surviving. So I want to get my clients out of that survival mode. So metaphor that I often use is we're trying to clean out the basement, okay? The basement is the metaphor for your nervous system, your brain, all of your crap, all of your anxiety, right? We want to clean out the basement. Okay. Well, I go downstairs and I start cleaning it out. But if somebody keeps throwing shit down the stairs, adding stuff into the basement, it's going to be really hard to get things clean, right? So we got to stop whoever's throwing crap down the basement. And then we can begin actually cleaning it out, right? Integrate, the next step is going through the boxes. First, we want to stop shoving new stuff into the basement, right? Another metaphor I really like is you think about traffic backing up a highway, right? The jam isn't in the front, right? It's actually miles back where things keep getting added on and added on and added on, right? So you can't, fixing the congestion, yes, but then the traffic keeps going, right? You have to clear it. You have to go back to where it started. You've got to make sure that you're not, you want to clear where the jam started. But in order to do that, first you have to stop new cars from coming on the highway. So we'll get into the integration, right? There's a lot of very practical ways to do this. And a lot of my clients have started doing this, but they also can't see all the ways in which they're continuing to shove more stuff in the basement. So we want to reduce, we want to regulate, we want to stabilize. That's light. Okay. Moving on to I, we want to integrate, okay? This is a step where we accept, we process, and we release, okay? This is where the real magic happens. This is the hardest step, but it's the one with the most lasting impact. For a lot of people, this step feels very abstract, but it's not. It's chemical, it's behavioral, it's biological. And the problem is that so many therapists, we're just talking about it and we're not actually doing the work, right? So we start with accept, okay? Acceptance isn't resignation. Oh, well, there's nothing I can do. No. Acceptance is full acknowledgement of what's true, what's been true, and the emotion underneath the pattern. So you have the survival pattern, one of those 6 F's running the show. But what's the emotion underneath, right? I'm fixing because I don't want to feel what? Powerless? I'm helping because I don't want to feel what? Alone, right? What's going on underneath the surface that you don't want to feel and you don't want to touch, okay? Then we accept that's there. There's this little kid inside me. There's this pain, this wound, this emotional wound that hasn't been addressed that's inside me, right? Now it's time to process. I want to figure out how to let that emotional experience move through me rather than just trying to manage it and shove it back in, right? Releasing actually looks like feeling through these emotions, anger, fear, sadness, guilt, through different mechanisms and moving into catharsis. Catharsis is emotional release. So I feel and I release. And this is the same thing. If you said, I want to be strong and in the gym, right? I would say, well, you've got to pump the iron. You got to do the work, be in pain, heal, and keep coming back. And that's what we do. You're not going to get ripped just going to the gym one time and lifting a bunch of weights. You have to keep coming back consistently. And that's the same thing for healing. It's a consistent, ongoing process in which we work through these patterns, right? But then comes the payoff, baby. It's the release, right? When something that was held gets let go, right? In digestion, if you're digesting food, you got an apple, right? There are the nutrients and the waste product, right? So there's the lessons, there's the learning from that emotional wound, and then there's the waste product. There's the junk that you don't need to keep holding on anymore. That's the pain, right? Once it happens, you'll know, right? You'll tell me things like, oh, I feel so much lighter, or I have such greater peace about this, right? The resentment is gone, right? For me, the mechanism, one of the best mechanisms, this is why I do EMDR. Eye movement desensitization reprocessing. This is ultimately what helped me heal after my first kid came, right? Helped me get to really the root core of the patterns. There are other ways to do it. I've got other mechanisms. There's IFS, there's brain spotting, there's all these kind of cool things, but I really love the EMDR, right? EMDR, the work that I do, this is not just for trauma. This is about incomplete emotional loops, emotional wounds that got frozen inside our nervous system. Part of you still thinks your dad's yelling at you. Part of you still thinks you're getting bullied. Part of you still thinks you're in that car accident, right? We're trying to get it unstuck so you can move through, so you can process, you can accept, you can process, and you can release. Okay. I know I'm going fast, but there's a lot here. And I love this stuff so much. You got to remember that I talk about this all the time, right? With my clients and the speaking engagements I do. So this is just my home. I was cautioned by people not to bring my slides into the podcast. So I'm looking at you right now. In my ideal world, there would be some slides right up here, and I would be showing you these things. But they said it's a video podcast. You can do the course later. You can do that later. So I apologize if I'm going a bit fast, but I get charged up by this stuff. So 3rd stage was integrate. 4th stage is vitalize, okay? V for vitalize. We're going to meet our needs, we're going to build, and we're going to fulfill, right? So now that I've cleaned out the basement, right, or at least started to clean out the basement, I might ask, what do I want to be here, right? Now that there's empty and open space, once the load is lightened and the pattern starts to shift, the question is not what do I need to heal, but what do I actually need? What do I want? What am I trying to build, okay? Often here, this is where I bring in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? We have these basic needs, these middle ground needs, these more advanced needs. The most basic is physiological. I need to breathe, I need to sleep, I need to move, I need to eat. Then there's safety. I need to have a safe environment, but also psychological safety. There needs to be consistency and stability and structure. Then I need connection. I need relationships, right? I need community. Then I need esteem, a sense of self, what's special about me. And then we get into the fancy stuff like actualization, be the best version of myself I can possibly be. And so, look, it is not a linear path. But the idea is it's a pyramid such that if I want to grow the top of the pyramid, I need to have a safe and stable bottom, right? The insight for leaders, most leaders that come to me have higher esteem and connection, but lower safety, maybe enough physiology, but usually lower safety, right? The safety or the psychological are on fire. So the pyramid doesn't work. It ends up toppling over, right? Imagine a pyramid with a really big top and a really small bottom, right? Crashes. Fulfillment, getting your needs met, is not a destination. It's about having a sustainable, ongoing process of meeting our needs on a daily basis. You don't arrive at fulfillment, you maintain it, right? I want to eat food and I don't want to be hungry anymore, right? Ever again. Too bad, right? Like, you have to meet those needs every day. You've got to sleep every day. You have to connect with people every day. You have to do something that's meaningful to you every day. You have to have some safety and stability every day. So if we can identify what those needs are through framework, through processes, and begin implementing things in our daily life to make sure those needs are met, ideally, work and family are meeting those needs, right? Then we can create a sustainable process and build fulfillment over time. This is where we start moving out of the therapy and into more of the coaching, right? Fifth step, evolve, E. This is where I just get so charged up, right? Not that I wasn't for the rest. This is where I begin to rewire. We begin to build a life in flow, and we start really making an impact on our lives and on the world, okay? So this is where we're now solidly in growth, right? Healing is definitely the first three. The fourth, that we're healing a little more. The fifth, we are in growth, right? This is where we begin opening up into my 6 foundations of flow framework, where I start is really solidly coaching over here, okay? The survival pattern that was guarding the foundations got healed. It's no longer running the show. Now we can move into the foundations. So alive, right, removes the guard, and the foundations allow us to build our castle, right? So the 6 foundations are presence, peace, partnership, potential, purpose, and play. Okay, we'll get into these as we go. I'll have a separate podcast on the 6 foundations of flow that you'll love, right? But it's not about performance optimization. It's about wholeness that performs. The more whole I am, the more I'm going to show up and create in the world in the way that I want. It's going to be aligned. It's going to be impactful. It's going to be powerful. Okay, so the impact you make is a consequence of the healing and growth that you're able to do, right? And to do that, we're biologically, physiologically rewiring the neural connections in our brain and in our body, okay? So that's the process, alive, ALIVE, awareness, lighten, integrate, vitalize, evolve. Those are the steps, okay? So, but great, Matt, this is all great information, but what does this actually look like in real life? Let's make it concrete, okay? So for people with anxiety, they are caught in a feedback loop. There's a cue or trigger, right? It's something going on in the world. They see that dog. Then there's a state of mind, right? An emotion. I like that dog. I don't like that dog. I'm happy. I'm sad. I'm scared. I'm angry, right? That often produces a physical symptom. Maybe my chest tightens or my stomach or my head or whatever. My breathing increases, right? That creates a behavior. In this case, I run away from the dog, right? No matter what, the anxiety is going to decrease. It may take minutes, hours, or days, but sooner or later your anxiety will decrease. And then the question is, what did you learn, right? Did you learn that you can handle it, or did you learn that you need to run away, right? And that's the key, right? Avoidance teaches the nervous system the trigger is real and dangerous instead of that it's living inside you. Coping teaches us the trigger is manageable. Every avoidance loop makes the anxiety bigger, and every time you move through it, you shrink it, right? So look, I've been there. This is real for me, right? I was trying to carry it all. The first time where I started having the panic attacks in New York, I'd been broken up with. I was trying to do work at a place I didn't really belong, working in the Bronx in New York. I'm traveling an hour and a half to work, an hour and a half back. I'm anxious. I'm overwhelmed. Everything's going wrong, right? I'm trying to carry it all. I moved home. I got my dream job, but that didn't change the fact that as life got more stressful and more challenging again, those unhealed patterns were still there. I'm trying to handle all my clients. I'm trying to, I was a leader at the clinic in Northville, right? I have my house and my pregnant wife, right? But I was always fixing. I was always solving everybody else's problems. Then my son came, and I was so disconnected and shut down at home because I didn't have the energy but I couldn't, because I couldn't fix that. There was nothing to fix. I can't fix it for my wife. I can't fix it for my baby. I have to just be there. And I couldn't be there, right? And then I couldn't carry it at work anymore. So that's when I went to EMDR. Not because I wanted to, but because I ran out of options. I didn't want to be weak. I'm a therapist, right? I didn't want to be vulnerable. I have this all handled. I'm God's gift to the world. I'm healing. I'm growing, right? I have so much awareness, right? For the leaders that I work with, right? You're in the boardroom. Somebody says that your new decision doesn't make sense to them. It triggers the not enough pattern. There's a team conflict you're having. It triggers that solving mode. You're waking up at 3 a.m. ruminating, not able to shut down. You've been calling it stress. That's anxiety, right? You're trying to lead your team. You're trying to push things forward. You're trying to get your goals, but everything just feels heavy, okay? The thing that therapy gets right, but also where it stops, right? Therapy helps you understand the pattern, but the Alive framework will actually help you move through it, right? You're going from insight to an actual shift. And that's why I hear time and time again from my clients, like I've been to 3 therapists, I've been to 4 therapists, I've been to a therapist before. You're actually helping me move the thing, to change the thing, right? Because there's a map, there's a structure. We're not just wandering around in the woods. Here's the map. Let's get from here to there, right? Okay. So look, another thing I think is really important, I talk to a lot of leaders about, I have, so many clients, I can think of clients in particular that on that initial phone call with me, they're like, listen, I cannot lose my edge, right? You cannot mess me up. I need to be a performer. I need to be an achiever, right? I want to address that fear directly. It's come up so many times. And I felt the same. I'm doing all this EMDR. Like, what if I won't be successful anymore? What if I won't achieve my goals? What if I won't hit my dreams, right? Here's the good news. The pattern isn't your drive. The drive existed deeper and before the pattern. The pattern is what the anxiety did to your drive, right? So the drive is the light. The pattern, the interpretation is the lens. And now that light is blue, green, orange, yellow, red. You've got the light, baby. You are here to change the world, to make an impact, right? And what's on the other side? It's not softness, it's drive without the cost. It's an internal sense of passion and motivation without the pain. Look at me, listen to me, right? I'm excited. I've done the work. I am not passionless, right? And I'm not less driven. If anything, I'm achieving way more than I was achieving before. It came with a healing period. I had to take a step back for a while. Production maybe decreased by 10 or 20% for a bit, for a stage, right? But now I have clarity without the constant tension. Now I have impact without the invisible tax. And that's the same gift I give to my clients and I would want to give to you. Okay. So let's close ourselves down here. Let's reflect a little bit. The name of the process of the Alive framework is not an accident, right? The goal of healing work isn't to manage anxiety. It's to be alive again in the fullest sense of the word. I have a client who said to me, I want to live. He was dealing with some traumatic health issues, right? We want to live, not just to be living, but to be truly deeply alive and awake and engaged. Okay, this is my mission. I want to work with leaders because the leaders who change the world aren't the ones who are powered through these dysfunctional patterns. They're the ones who did the harder things. They're the ones who healed and then moved into these challenging circumstances. And they could support and hold those challenging circumstances because their nervous system had the space. Okay. I've been through this process. I use this process with, at this point, let's say thousands of people, if you include the people I've done one-on-one with, the groups, the workshops, all the talks that I've given, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, right? I know this works. I know it's good, right? What I want you to think about, am I ready to really move into the life that I want to build, okay? If so, what is the survival pattern that's running you? Am I solving? Am I avoiding? Am I pleasing? Am I confused? Am I stuck, right? Where am I, right? Which survival pattern is running you? And what would you become if it wasn't? Deep down, inside you lies the seed of the tree that has been growing throughout your life. Nobody can put it there. It is there, right? And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the barriers out of the way that allows that seed to fully bloom into that gorgeous tree. It's already been growing. You're not starting from zero. The tree's already growing, but there's stuff in the way. And if we can get those patterns out of the way, we're going to be able to grow more powerfully. We're going to be able to have more meaningful lives, more meaningful families, more connected, right? Better impact at work, more gorgeous businesses, and a greater impact on the world around us. So if you want to go on that journey, I'm happy to have you along for the ride. I'm happy to do a 20 to 30 minute free consult for anybody in the world that wants to talk to me to see if I can be helpful. I've also got tons of resources in my clinic and other clinics. I got tons of amazing people, no matter where you are in I would certainly say in the United States, but also in the world, to help you heal. If I can't be the one to help you, if you want to schedule a session, I'm happy to do it at any time. But more importantly, I think a really great place for anybody to get started is with my quiz. I offer we call it the flow quiz, but it's basically what's both stopping and enabling your flow. It's a free quiz. You can take it. It's 18 questions. It'll take you 3 minutes of your life, but it'll help you identify your key area of strength and your key area of weakness. I also have a PDF, the Turning Point PDF, that walks leaders through this journey and what this journey might look like on the other side and how to get there. That's free as well. Happy to offer it. And yeah, I would love to sit down with you for a real breakthrough session. I do these 2-hour sessions where we dig into these patterns, we understand it, and we get a map for the road ahead, so that rather than just doing therapy forever or doing coaching forever, you actually have a roadmap to decide whether you want to go on this journey before you go on it. I can't promise you the journey is easy, but I can promise you that the journey will transform you. And I would love to grow with you along that journey or point you in the direction of somebody who can, because this is a mission for me, right? I believe we can build a better world with every leader that heals. And you also know that I'm building a community. So get me on social. Keep listening to this podcast. Stay with me here, guys. And I'm also hoping very soon to launch my Campfire community, which will be a free weekly resource for people, leaders, high performers that are doing this work, so we can all get together and all connect and all keep doing this work together. So I know that was a lot, but I'm here to be helpful. And at the risk of being too helpful, too bad. Check out the quiz. Check out the PDF. I think you'll find that really meaningful if you're a leader, a high performer who's feeling stuck. Schedule a consultation with me. Happy to sit down with you. If I don't have, if you're trying to get in and I don't have time, I got my colleagues that can, absolutely get you in. But more than anything, I just want you to know that this journey is possible, that you can do this, that there is a framework. And yeah, I wish everybody working through anxiety, and again, this works for depression. This works for, most of the common issues. But again, this is, are you feeling stuck? Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling challenged? Let's move you through this framework. So future episodes, I'll go in little bits, one at a time. We'll look at each stage of the Alive framework. We'll look at each of these 6 different survival patterns. We'll get you into the foundations. There's so much content to come, but I've just been loving and just been electrified by the interviews I've been doing in the community I'm building. So thank you guys for being here and being along for the ride. If this episode resonated with you, then I would love for you to stay with us and stay on the journey. Right? It's exactly why we're building this. The work you're doing matters, and it's not meant to be done alone. So make sure you're subscribed to the Evolving on Purpose podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening, and share this podcast with a leader or high performer in your life who's ready for something deeper. You can follow along at Evolving Lives Inc. on Instagram between episodes for more tools, reflections, and real conversations, and let us know what you want to explore to help you on your journey. Okay, this is bigger than a podcast. I've said this before. This is a movement. It's a community of authentic leaders that are choosing to grow, to heal, and to step into who they were meant to be so that we can make the impact the world actually needs. Thank you for being here. And as always, let's keep evolving on purpose together.